confined largely to our homes, deprived of freedoms, experiences, and human connections. Somehow, we've mostly learned to get by. Now in countries with advanced vaccine programs, we must adapt again. To crowds, to conversations, to a pace of life that seems distant and, personally, a little intimidating. And that makes me feel nervous, anxious, even fearful. But I don't know why I'm feeling this way.
I think we have all become a little inclined to be closed in and hesitant to go back to that normal life. And we need to reinvigorate that social muscle.
Psychologist NIKCEVIC says nervousness about returning to something like our old reality now has a name: re-entry anxiety. But it's not new.
This phenomenon has been observed by psychologists before in people who have spent protracted periods of time in isolation. For example, people who have gone in the space.
Ground control to me.
Chris Hadfield understands why some people are feeling anxious.
My longest time in space, when I was living on board and commanding the International Space Station, was a little under 6 months, so half a year, halfway around the sun.
Hadfield says he returned to Earth a different person, and many of those emerging from lockdown will also have experienced profound personal change.
Perhaps some of the anxiety is fueled by the fear that things could go back, that we could lose some of what we've found through this experience.
Well, I think that's up to each of us, Phil. How am I going to take this new version of me and introduce it to this new version of the world in as productive way as I possibly can?
A practical optimism, I think that's what you're advocating there. Is that fair?
That's how we fly spaceships, Phil, with a very deeply based practical optimism.
Pip Hare believes she is her best self when battling oceans alone. She recently finished a 96-day, non-stop, single-handed race around the world. But even with all her extraordinary courage, returning to life on land can be overwhelming.
Just need to remember that we are adaptable and we will go to a different kind of normal again. But you don't want to throw yourself at it too hard. Allow the change to happen gradually and make sure you're doing things that work for you.
My wife and I were arrested.
Jason REZAIAN was imprisoned in Iran while working as the Washington Post's bureau chief.
I spent 49 days in solitary confinement, and I went on to spend a total of 544 days in that prison.
He knows the complex emotions that follow a sudden return to a once familiar life.
In my case, I was, one person, and my wife. We were two people that were dealing with this. What we're talking about now is billions of people around the world coming to this at almost the same time. Just recognizing that everybody is going to have a different reaction, and many of those reactions are going to be unexpected to the world and unexpected to those people themselves.
So we should all be a little gentle with each other, perhaps.
I think we should always be a little bit gentle with each other, but certainly in the weeks and the months ahead, I think we should err towards forgiveness. There's going to be a lot of awkward encounters for everybody.
Everyone wants the pandemic to end, but in a world where old certainties have been swept aside, we can't all be sure we'll want everything that comes next.